This meeting is being recorded.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's really good to know.
Okay.
So, hello,
Yeah.
Thomas. Nice to see
Hello,
you
Matthias.
again.
Yeah.
Hello.
First time to
It's
see you now. Yeah.
it's a bit of a
How
weird
are you?
situation. How are you? We often meet and we have these discussions about well, all kinds of things, software design or programming or maintaining projects. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we always have a lot of fun there.
Mm-hmm.
We also tend to be quite honest about each other's well, maybe shortcomings and the kind of messy code that we write to get things done sometimes. Yeah, and I had this idea that we might record one of our conversations at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's just interesting to share. Besides, like all the great stuff that we are working on, and I think like we want to share a lot of what we do. Yeah, and also we of course want to promote what we do, but it's
Mm-hmm.
maybe interesting to talk about what's going on behind the scenes, and yeah, maybe we have some doubts about the things we make, and is it really yeah great in all its aspects, or are there some doubts that we have, or some bad things that we deliver
We've done.
part
Yeah.
of our work,
I have
right?
so many. Yeah.
There will be many probably like this is just happening always. If you write something, if you code something, if you
Mm-hmm.
record something, there's always going to be something bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm curious. Like we normally talk about Rector a lot. We also wrote a book together about that, and yeah, you are, I think, like the main creator of this project, like where it really started. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm curious, what do you think of Rector? How do you like it?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Okay.
To be honest, yeah. I first tried it to write it like 5-6 years ago. So some little prototype, and it was like because just I was lazy, so I wanted to automate some things that I'm doing like 50 times, like upgrade this Symfony or this Neta version to newer one. And I have so bad memory, so every time I had to like have this list of to do, what not to forget to change in the code. And one of the first project was actually Symfony 2.8, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
And today, actually, I was Googling for some solution because I'm doing the same type of upgrade from Symfony 2.8. And on Stack Overflow, there was some ascetic bundle removal. And
Yeah.
and there was a comment from somebody that you can do this, or you can use Rector. And it
Okay.
was from 2018. And I was like, yeah, thank you for using Rector. Like, I'm happy somebody's finally using it. And
Awesome.
it was fun to find it like 4 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is already 4 years ago, when Rector was quite well, not matured yet, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like
Yeah. So
18
back then
years
it was
at least.
already working
Yeah.
for them in this use case. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said like I'm the creator, but I think that that's no longer the true, because many frameworks contribute, like
Right.
developers from Symfony, from Neta, from Cake PHP, Laravel, PHP Unit. Like everybody, somebody tries it, they find something more to improve, or something that could be even better, or some even new rules. And these people all try to like contribute back. So now what we are doing in Rector is mostly just fixing the crappy, weird stuff that people cannot handle, and the rest is like what community needs. They try to bring it into Rector, which is great.
That's too bad, because then we should have had this conversation years ago, like
yeah.
and it had also all these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Like you mentioned refactoring, but like for framework migrations, that's one thing. But Rector has changed a lot, I think. Where do you use it for? What do you use it for nowadays?
Well, mostly for these framework upgrades, and of course the PHP. Like for me, first I had to actually learn about PHP a lot, what all BC breaks are, what all undocumented BC breaks are. That was the hard part, because you see a release of PHP 7.2, no BC break, but then you see, oh, there is a little mcrypt removed, and you have to rework all your architecture with passwords.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had to learn a lot about PHP and internals, and like Google in PHP source code and Stack Overflow. Then create all these rules like that will fix little details for Rector. But now it's just like lazy. I just put the set into Rector. I run the Rector. I push it. I wait for CI. Mostly it works, and that's it. So basically, I don't know anything about PHP anymore. I just know how to put the new set into the Rector.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so it does save people a lot of time to like understand what the upgrades are, or the BC breaks that that new versions of the framework and the language introduce. So that's yeah, like they don't have to read it all and figure it out. Rector has you covered. Like it will make those changes for you. And now you know all about that. Although you also forget about it apparently. But then, like, what happens with everyone else? Shouldn't we also know what's happening in PHP, or how do you feel about that?
I think people who are interested already like follow the sources. Like Brent is writing great articles about what's new in PHP, and I think that's great to follow. And also we are using, if somebody's interested, we are using like links to, let's say you have typed properties and you have no idea what it is, but suddenly it's in your code. So Rector also shows this little link, like we have this changelog annotation, and then it prints this link to, let's say, RFC or good article about this topic. So if something changes in your code and you want to know what and why and what is it, you can click on the link and you can learn more about it.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. If Rector can do it for you, it's okay. But if you want to know what's happening, why, then yeah, you can figure out.
Yeah, it was actually contributed by our common friend Sebastian from Typo3 community, because he had a lot of these resources and he had this idea, maybe we could tell people what is going on, and then we added to Rector, and thanks to him now everybody knows what is going on if they want to know.
Very cool. Yeah. I've also heard this this trick from the book Living Documentation, where there's also like a suggestion to have like annotations in your classes where it says, oh, this is an entity, find out more, like click on the annotation and you will find out more. What is an entity even? What kind of definition do we use here in this project? So it's a really nice way. If you want to find out more, yeah, you can go there. Otherwise, it's fine. You can be quite ignorant about everything else that you can just make your code and fix
and that's what I love about it, because sometimes I want to know more, so I want to have the option. But from what I see, companies who ask for some help with upgrade, they just really don't care about anything. They just want to make the upgrade happen because they want to do the business stuff. So
yeah, makes sense.
Good for both sides, I think.
Yeah, I can also relate. It's always like, okay, should I have to know how to do this with the framework, or I just want to do my stuff here and leave me alone, right? Yeah. So is there like people will know less about the language, the framework? Is that also a bad thing, you think?
Well, when I was younger, I thought like we should all know these details and like paradigms and terminology and how things are called and what's solid principles. But the older I am and more code I see, the more I prefer like this pragmatic approach, like make it work, make it easy to change, and make it understanding to other people than you.
Yeah.
And if you made this happen, that's it. I think people like the main goal of programming is to enjoy it. So I want to enjoy it, because if you hate your work, you will create shitty code anyway. So you should enjoy to create something that looks like you love it.
Okay. So Rector makes the work more enjoyable, you think? Are there ways? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. And I can also relate. Of course, we've worked together on this, and we've seen a lot of things that have become better because of Rector. There are also some things that I think might get in the way. Actually, do you have experience with that? Like, where does Rector cause some friction in teams or with developers?
Sometimes there's this team when there's 2-3 developers who are interested in new stuff. They want to innovate, like use more CI stuff, use PHP 10, use Rector coding standards. And there's this other camp who's at least 10 years in the company. They are maybe CTOs, They prefer like more stable environment, don't change much. We don't have to have tests. We don't have to have all these tools. And so there's like this little friction of explaining each other the benefits. Maybe it's like generation conversation. I don't know. And in these situations, I'm trying to like explain it should be beneficial for both camps. Let's say it's not like we are better or we are better, and that people should ask each other what's their issue with that, or what's their problem, what's their fear, and communicate about it, and then introduce some solution together.
Yeah.
So let's say before this culture differences, I applied Rector mostly like just like boom, it changed everything. And then I got feedback like, oh, that's too much. So I learned like it should be small steps. It's like with a child, like first just walk. First year, it's okay, don't rush. Like then we can like see the bike. Okay, you don't have to use it yet. Third year, you can use it a little. And so I like this. You start little, you introduce one rule, you introduce 2 rules, 3 rules, and then you have like, after 1 year, 5 sets, and it's like everything is automated and you can focus on what you love.
So it does take people some time to get used to like Rector taking over the project in a sense, like the Rector can do things that you didn't necessarily want yourself, but does it for you?
I think it's not like taking over, but helping with the stuff you don't want to do anyway. But mainly believing you can really do it, because for some people it sounds like magic, you know, like you have PHP 5.3 project, in 2-3 months you can have PHP 8.1. They will tell you like it's not possible, and they will just shut down because they tried so many times. And you have to refactor so many things at once. And I think Rector helps to like remove this responsibility to the tool, and then the developer can think like, oh, I have the freedom. I can think about like architecture and DDD and all this new concept I wanted to learn all my life.
Right. Yeah. So it saves time. You can focus on the more interesting parts. Yeah. But you mentioned magic. Is that something like Rector is in a sense magic? It does things you don't know how it works, or what really happens is unclear.
Unclear. Yeah, let's say, because Rector is using PHP stan to like understand the types. So every time, let's say you have some object and there's a method like get me lunch, the Rector will ask what's this like variable type, and then if there is some rule that should rename the method or remove the method or refactor the method somehow, then it will, let's say instead of get me lunch, there will be like get me any food, and it will rename the method in that context and just print it out. So I think it's like event subscriber pattern, kinda. Like you subscribe to this specific place or method call, that's this method name, then you rename it and you print it. And that's it. That's like all Rector magic.
Well, you make it sound like it's almost nothing, but it is quite a lot of code, right? You're using a lot of code also, like Rector itself, but also the libraries that it uses. Like it's a lot in the end, right? So do you see any problems there? Is that like in terms of maintainability or?
So sometimes like when PHP stan was developed, we adapted some architecture, and then it turned into parallel, and Rector run was actually series. So we had this collision, like PHP stan was running file by file, and Rector was running all at once. That was actually when we were writing the book. So before releasing the book, we had to make sure it's compatible with PHP stan parallel process. Which was beneficial because it also helped to make Rector parallel, so like much times faster. And there's another issue that we are thinking about now. Andrea is actually mentioning it in the last release of PHP stan. Like there are nodes that are connected. Let's say you have like echo of this. So all the nodes know echo 5. The 5 node, the parent is the echo. There is another parent. So you have all these weird connections between nodes. And it costs a lot of performance. And then you have to write these weird rules where you're like trying to touch something. And we have like, I think 15, 20 rules in Rector like this. So we will I see we'll have to like get away and make it somehow simpler and easier to use.
Yeah, so performance is an issue. You recognize that like PHP stand may have performance issues that you also inherit as the Rector project. Then you have your own ways of dealing with performance because you have a different way of looking at code and like to process everything. But this is now streamlined. Do you see other options for improving performance or?
I don't think there is much. Nothing I know about. Like just make the nodes connected less and then iterate just like the statements, but otherwise.
Yeah.
Because we have the parallel now, like last year and a half, I think it's in Rector. So that helps a lot. Like mainly with this old legacy projects, like it was, let's say 3 minutes before. Now it can be like half minute. So it's you can have faster feedback loop and you can enjoy the waiting because it's short.
Yeah, but I guess one issue might be that people have experience with Rector in a way that makes them have some doubts about the tool, right? That it's maybe slow or it's hard to do anything with it, or it does things that they don't want, or
sometimes.
Yeah, and things are changing quite quickly in the meantime.
Like with type control, because before we introduced these type properties, and it was trying to help people by converting all the var annotations into strict types. But that rarely works, because if you have like var integer, it doesn't mean this property is integer.
Right.
Sometimes it can be string, but you don't know until you run it. So So that's also something that I think Rector can improve in the future, like do the changes that it's like 100% sure about instead of trying to help you, you know?
So are there like, so this is a nice example of a rule that you introduced in the project that may not work for everybody. It's like it should have a disclaimer, so you know this could work, but people will still need to understand what's going on with this rule. And you say there are different rules that are always applicable that you can just run anyway. Do you think that there are other rules that have been in the project or are currently in the project that are kind of dangerous like this?
Well, mostly are these like these typed rules, like complete param return type. But last year we had like a lot of reports, and Abdul, who is working part-time on the project, he's making sure everything is corrected. Also, when there is like a trait that's using another trait that's using a class, and there should be some type resolvents, it can also be a little weird.
Right. Yeah.
Because trait in a class when the name is string is different than the same trait in a class when the name is, let's say, value object. So it can behave differently, and that's something to think about.
Yeah. So there are these cases where if you run the rule, then it breaks your code, right?
Yeah. This type rules, like they are the most sensitive ones. So I don't recommend to start with them. Like I think the best way to start with is let's say that code or code quality or just PHP upgrade, because sometimes you're on PHP 7.2, but you are using old features.
Right.
So you can just add Rector at PHP 7.2 set, and you will see what else is new.
Yeah. So one downside I would say of going forward all the time is like your dependencies may not go forward. And that can be a problem, I think, in legacy applications, or I mean, which application isn't a legacy application, but okay. We always have some dependencies that we have to upgrade. And Rector, that's for Rector, it's beyond its control, right?
Yes. That's maybe something important. Like Rector doesn't solve all the legacy issues. It just automates something that you would have to do manually anyway.
Right.
Let's say now we are working on a project where there is mcrypt library, and it was removed in PHP 7.2. So instead of doing like the upgrade in a week, now we have to like think about a month or two, how can we replace mcrypt with something else? And that's something that the human has to do, or we have to do, because it's like so complex with this database, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so that's nice. That's going to save a lot of time. Yeah, but in the end, as a recent example that I ran into is like an old Smarty version that well, cannot even be upgraded to PHP 8 because there was no new version of it released yet. So one thing that that could be done is maybe to run Rector on that project as well. Do you have some kind of suggestion for that? Does it make sense?
Smarty has this syntax, or is it like PHP? Because I don't remember much. Is it like Twig syntax or?
Yeah, it has its own language and then compiles to PHP. And I mean, the library itself also uses a lot of old style PHP code. So I don't know. What do you think?
I'd probably like maybe convert it to Twig somehow. Like that's something else that people are like talking about, like how to use PHP stem to analyze templates.
Right.
Because in a way, every template is just PHP code with some syntax sugar. So let's say in Twig you have these brackets and variable, and it's converted on the background to echo variable.
Yeah.
And on that you can already run PHP stem and ask if this type exists, if this method exists, and so on.
Yeah.
So something similar can be done even with this. You can convert Smarty to PHP and then use Rector to convert the PHP back to Twig, let's say.
So that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also something I love about PHP community. Like you create one tool and there's somebody, let's use PHP stem to analyze blade templates in Laravel, and let's use for Twig, and let's use for that. So that, like everybody is creative in some way and they're creating their own little package that helps the community furthermore.
So I mean, it's awesome that people are joining, and certainly that's great. Like Rector can do more because of it. Do you also see problems there, like many people pushing code into the project, or does it have any downsides at this point?
Yes, sometimes like it's hard to define what Rector should do or not, or at least like first 2-3 years. Like there were some ideas to make it more like PHP Storm, like extract method, extract service, like these refactorings. So we have to like clear the boundary. Like for this, you should use PHP stem because you want to analyze something. For refactoring of your code in your specific way, unique, you should use PHP Storm.
Yeah.
And in the middle, like if there's something you can automate and you want to do on everyday basis, you can use Rector rule to automate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that's actually one of the things that I think is less clear about Rector. Like it's different roles that it could play within the project, and yeah, of course we also talked about this a lot. Like also what should be in the book, I guess. Explain different ways of like how does it work, how can I use it to upgrade, but also how can I make it part of the daily work. Keep the rules enabled, not just install Rector for just one migration and then uninstall it. Yeah. So how do you see that? Can you do something about that as well?
About like the daily use of Rector?
Yeah, like how can we, or you, how can you make it work like that for people that they can really adopt it?
That's also like something we try to cover in the book, like. How is the process of using, like from the first rule to upgrade something in new PHP to upgrade framework? But in the end, Rector, like the biggest benefit is not about upgrading PHP. It's just like one-time job for 1-2 days. I think it's the same, like Composer's job is not just to upgrade your dependencies today, but to keep them updated for the rest of your life so you don't have to ever think about it.
Right.
So that's why we have it in CI. We don't even think about it. We just put it there, update, okay.
Yeah.
And with Rector, it's the same. I think it should be like some member of your team that will check every day if everything is okay, if there's something we can improve. Like you will be most like nitpicking developer who will check all the lines in your code every day. But he will help you to keep your code updated so you can like do your stuff. So I think the best place to put Rector is just CI, set up the levels, and like let him do the dirty job.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So when Rector makes a mistake, this I guess it sometimes happens, or like you cannot deal with the situation and really makes a weird change to your code. Do you have any examples of that maybe were reported as bugs, or I don't know, things that went horribly wrong in a project, or I don't know.
Wrong. Yeah. Sometimes like when there are these like closures and something some property is used inside, Rector didn't see this property and thought it's that property. So he kind of removed many private properties that were somehow used.
Right.
So we had to make sure it will not happen. Or if there is some like magic, well, basically the more magic is, the more stupid Rector is, you know, like
right.
If there is method call, the method name is dynamic, like Rector has no idea if this method exists, what's in there. And so sometimes I start to work with project like this and I want to use Rector, but first I have to figure out what's going on. So I have to spend many months digging, and like, oh, it's just one method that's exact. Why it's dynamic method? Oh,
okay. Right. Yeah. So it may be cool at the time when you start using Rector, you may regret it. That's one way to look at it. Yeah. So then there may be projects that where you really cannot use Rector because of this. Do you have experience with that?
Yeah. Like spaghetti with PHP and HTML. That was quite impossible even. First, it was hard because I thought it's possible, but then we just decided to move it to pseudo controls in Symfony and let it there. So we can use. So we have like a render action. There is some spaghetti code, but we at least can use dependency injection there and have some kind of tests. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I guess doing things in the global scope is a problem anyway, like with including files and like what type of variable is this even?
Yeah. I think like that's why I don't recommend use Rector, but first like use PHP Stan, get it to level 2-3, then you can add Rector because now he understands the types and they kind of like help each other. Like PHP Stan helps with the types, Rector helps to change the code, and Easy Coding Standard like just tidy up everything so you don't have to do it manually. And they're like three good brothers who are just helping each other.
Yeah. But sometimes they are also in each other's way, I guess. That you have Rector making changes to the code that maybe even lead to PHP Stan errors being reported, or like CS fixers or ECS trying to change the coding style and then messing things up. Do you have examples of that?
Yeah, like I think we had Rector for some like mixed array. Like if the array, if there is a type of array and you use param mixed brackets, then it's like not valuable information because it's array anyway and you don't know what it is. So we were like removing it, and PHP Stan was complaining, what's this array? And then people complete it, and then Rector remove it because it's obvious it's mixed. So
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, I actually saw that PHP Storm also tried to do that. Like say this is a redundant type, and when you remove it, PHP Stan is also unhappy. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Yeah. So and I think when we were working on the book, there was a similar issue where like Rector would fix something that's ECS would also change, and then like but in general I think Rector is more about structure and ECS is more about like formatting, so they should not get in each other's way usually.
But it can happen, you know, like because each developer is behind the project, and then I have some default thinking how things should be in the world, and then there's another tool and it's a little different. And but I think it's actually good because it creates discussion, because somebody reports something in Rector, I send them to PHP Stan, then somebody reports something in PHP Stan, then we figure out it's Rector issue. So it kind of like interdependency that makes, I think, better communication with each other.
Yeah. So, but that also seems like a big problem to me. If you have to communicate with all these people and like to connect all these projects together, right? How do you feel about that?
Because as an open source developer, you know, like I think you want to be in control and you want to like decide everything in your package. Like I'm doing for free, this all works, so I will have this comma here, you know.
Right.
But then you have something in your vendor and they decide to change something. And then you cannot do anything about it. And like, oh, and then you try to speak with them, convince them to return the BC break. And well, I think that's how open source works, you know, like That's what I love about PHP, that like people actually talk with each other. We have this PHP like groups now, like even behind PHP source code, and it's like more kind of democratic, communicating, voluntary. So I think it's part of the job. It helps me grow as a human as well, you know, because I have to learn how to be tolerant to other people, how to explain myself in a better way, how to set boundaries. So
yeah, well, I guess that's a nice way of explaining it. Like you can also say this cost me a lot of time and frustration. But
yeah,
I mean, I think we are both optimists in this sense. Like we like to see the good parts of things, but at the same time, you know, it's good to be critical about this as well, because you know, for instance, like for a maintainer of open source, I think having this intense partnership with another projects like PHP Stan can be quite heavy for you to maintain like communication. You are depending on PHP Stan. At the same time, I also learned or heard something about like there's sort of a codependency or like happening as well. Is that true?
Yeah. Actually, like I think, to be honest, like at start, PHP Stan and Rector were more like competitors. Like so, like I feel like we were not sharing much, and it was like I'll just borrow this, and maybe, but I will not let you have this. And I think maybe first 2-3 years I thought it's like that, but then we start to use more PHP Stan and communicate with issues, and then we had even some calls with Andre in like person when I need upgrade help. He was like very helping. So now we are like using PHP Stan for almost 99% of the types, and also Andre started to use Rector to downgrade the PHP Stan. So because before he had some like custom script that was removing just some types from properties and some other little details, and I noticed that he's doing downgrade, so we also start to use downgrade. Like that's pretty great idea. And then he started to use the downgrade script to downgrade his code. So we use PHP Stan types to downgrade types in PHP Stan, and it's like full circle.
So now if he introduces a bug in PHP Stan, you also get the bug in Rector, and he will get it back again when he downgrades the bug.
I think like it was frustrating at the start, to be honest. Like sometimes I spent like 4 or 5 weeks to upgrade something that was changed in PHP Stan. But then like I think it helped Rector code to be more flexible, because I had to make sure we can change fast, because if our main dependency PHP Stan changes like in the next month, we have to able to adapt. We cannot like create our own PHP Stan. So it forced me to clean the Rector much more than if this wouldn't happen. So in the end, I'm like grateful for this, because now we can help each other. And if Andre has some bug with downgrade, we try to fix it. If we have some bug in Rector, Andre tries to fix it. So I think it's like great cooperation.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, so my concerns about the dependency relation there, like it's okay. Everything is fine. You work together, and that's good. So what if we lose the two of you, like as human beings? What would happen to these projects?
Well, you are here, so.
Oops, no.
I'll be watching you from the sky. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe do a code reviews from time to time.
Yeah, I think it's like in any other committee, like the more people contribute, like there is you have like a lot of knowledge, mainly because of writing the book, and we had to communicate a lot. Sebastian, who's doing the typo 3 Rector, he also knows a lot. This Abdul, he works part-time on this project, and I think the more people use it, the more the knowledge is out there. There are also people. There was this one guy from Japan. He was using Rector to migrate the Fuel framework to Laravel. They had this 1-year project to migrate all the internals, like websites, from one framework to another. And he tweeted it. I asked him if he can give me more details. Then he provided 2 more posts on our blog. So I feel like the knowledge is spreading. And I hope I will not die anytime soon. So yeah.
Let's not make any assumptions
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
when it will happen. But it's good to know that people are having knowledge about Rector, how it works, and that they are they want to invest also by means of contributions.
Mhm. And we're also trying to make Rector more stable. Like, let's say PHP parser, it was similar story. Like, it started somehow, it was parsing something, then it was printing some gibberish. But since version 3, it was trying to make the format clean.
Right.
And now we have PHP parser version 4, and I think like it's almost finished, except like new features from PHP language.
Yeah.
It's finished. So even though like Nikita now left for like CVM something for another language, then the PHP parser is like pretty finished. So I think that would be goal for Rector too, like to have the finished core and then just let people implement their own rules.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. So do you feel like it's somewhat done, the project, or how do you feel about that?
Not yet, I would say. Yeah, we like, as I said, we have to like decompose these references, node next, statement current.
Yeah.
And there's one step with PHP stan scope, because let's say you have a variable food, and then you rename it into meal, and PHP actually loses a type because originally it was food. So we have to find out a way how to refresh the scope. So PHP stan refreshes the reference from meal to food and keeps the type as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So that I guess there will always be these edge cases that need to be fixed, or the thing. But it also looks like the tool has matured quite a bit. So how do you feel that, like, I mean, I guess we keep going back into, okay, well, this could be a problem. But it's not, it's great. I guess that's the way we are. How do you feel that Rector may have like negatively influenced your life? Does it take a lot of time, for instance, or?
Negatively influenced. Yeah, sometimes it's like stressed. I'm stressed because I feel like I have to figure out how this works, because a lot of people, let's say, how to upgrade enums, because nobody did it before, so it's hard to Google it, because there are many custom enum packages, and there is no standard, and there is no way of doing things, and it's like quite a responsibility to decide. We will upgrade this enum like this enum like this, and this enum like this. And so sometimes it's a little like overwhelming responsibility for me.
Right.
It's hard to sleep. But I feel it's useful. So I believe it's like a challenge, like a mission. Like, it's hard, but like that's what we do. We do hard things, so people can enjoy working with their code. Like that's the mission of Rector. Like, do the hard stuff for you, so you can do what you love. And one of these is like to do the upgrades that nobody did before. So even before PHP 1, let's say 8.2 will be released, we will make sure like there are almost all rules covered with Rector, so people can download, use, install, and then can just do what they want.
Right. Yeah. But I understand, like, the responsibility is sometimes a lot to take. Like, it's scary to release a new rule, even though you have tests and everything. Like, there may be cases where you run it and people will be very disappointed. It's just
but
how it works.
I think it's as any other tool. You just like you use it, you report it, it becomes better. And like edge cases, there always will be, but there's much less in time. So
yeah,
it's good now.
And we have
now I'm in a happy place.
Awesome. Yeah, we also have these open source licenses where you can say, like, no guarantees. I'm not you cannot claim anything here. So that's still a good thing. Are you concerned about people taking this project and well, I mean, selling it for a lot of money somewhere, or I don't know?
I think it's already happening, because usually when you do open source, it means somebody's already doing it as a private paid service.
Right.
Like, I think it's just logical. And doing it as an open source is like a next step. And I also had to like choose if I'll go the money private way company group service,
Yeah.
or if I'll focus more on, let's say, doing the open source and trying to earn money with consulting, training, and like doing on-site job. So I think they're like, actually 2 years ago, I was contacted by 2-3 guys who wanted to create such a private service, and they asked for some help. I think also, I'm not sure, but probably Laravel Shift is also using it, because there was some good discussion on Twitter how to use Rector to run a whole project. So,
Laravel Shift is for upgrading projects as well, or?
Yeah, there are some like PHP little upgrades or PHP unit upgrades. They were there before.
Right.
I know I saw some discussion before. It was more like regex. Now it's more automated. I don't know how, but like it's only logical to use a tool that's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I would do it if I had a company, So.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's the same with Symfony. Like Symfony has many products, and many people use Symfony to earn money somehow. But
yeah,
you have to have like these other products like book training, on-site consulting, also like teaching other people to use Rector so they can do the upgrade themselves as their own business.
Yeah, and for sure it's going to save people a lot of time. But then it has cost you a lot of money in that sense as well, because you could have worked for money and you spent a lot of time on the open source projects. But now it's like this balancing act again. You still have to get in some way. But you still believe that this is the right way, like the open source way.
Yes, because when I first saw like there is a framework and it's free and you can use it. I don't know if it was maybe Nete. I was like, wow, like so much knowledge for free. And and there's Linux and it's free, and somebody spent 20 years on it and it's free. And I really like this idea, like not try to earn money on everything that you can own, but rather help each other. So another person can help with something for free. I use like at least maybe 20, 30 products for free. So I feel like this is kind of my way of giving back.
Yeah. No, that's very nice. So yeah, let's wrap it up. I mean, we have tried to talk about some of the bad stuff that Rector has to offer. I guess in the end, a lot of the downsides, the possible downsides, I mean, can also be rephrased as like this has been fixed, or we are fixing it, or we are continuously improving. And I think it's a great mindset for you as the maintainer of the project, that you really want to make it a great tool and to be very helpful to people. So and I guess that by talking about the difficulties or the problems that you run into, that gives the people a really clear picture of what's going on, and what this tool really is trying to solve, instead of just being great. You have been fighting for many of these things. Spending a lot of time.
Sounds good.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so thanks a lot. I guess this is it. This was our first episode. The show doesn't have a title yet. We'll see how we could call this. Thanks a lot, and until next time.
Thank you for great questions. I was happy to share some frustration and happiness.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.